The last time I saw my son was when he went to bed, December 7th. He turned 16, and he should be home for that.
That's Katie Proudfoot, and I think she knows what happened to her missing son, Sebastian Rogers. And it's not just because of slip-ups like that where she talks about him in the past tense. Mainly it's because of the things she doesn't say in her interviews. So in today's video, let's watch her most recent TV interview, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm deception detective and attorney trained in statement analysis. This channel exposes lies and manipulation. So if that's your thing, hit like and subscribe. For early access to new videos, exclusive videos, and other perks, consider becoming a channel member. Link in description. Even if you're not familiar with this case or haven't seen the other videos in my Sebastian Rogers playlist, there's no need to worry because the interview we're about to analyze contains some news clips that will bring you up to speed. So there's just one thing I want to recap before we grab our deception decks and start analyzing Katie. And that's the 7 things I look for when I'm analyzing the parent of a missing child on TV. And coincidentally, I went over those in one of my earliest videos covering this case, where I analyzed Katie and her husband Chris doing a TV interview, and even back then, they didn't do any of these things. So here's what we look for. We want the parents to speak about the kid in the present tense. We want the parents to be cooperative, so if they get asked a question, they do their best to answer the question and not over-answer, right? So they answer what they're asked, but they're not trying to push a narrative. Like the McCanns pushing the narrative of a kidnapping when they're asked what could have happened. Third is the parents are inconclusive. So if the parents say 100%, my kid was kidnapped without any evidence that someone broke into the house, or in this case, they say, my kid walked away or ran away without any evidence that the kid did that, it's a red flag. Fourth, if the kid is missing and the parents are on TV, we can expect them to address a kidnapper. So even if they're not sure the kid was kidnapped, they don't know what actually happened, so we can expect them to at least look into the camera and say, if you have my son Sebastian, please return him to us. We won't pursue you. Just drop him off at a police station. Fifth, we can expect parents to address the child through the camera. Since they don't know what happened to their kid, for all they know, the kid is watching. So they'll take that opportunity to speak to the kid. Sebastian, we know you're out there. If you're watching this, we love you. We're going to find you. Sixth, the parents ask for help. That's the entire point of these appearances. If the parents don't ask for help, it means A, that they might know the kid is beyond any help. They might know the kid is already dead. Or it might mean they have an ulterior motive. They're not necessarily doing this interview to help find their kid. They're doing it to push a narrative, or they're doing it to clear their own name. Either way, they have some other agenda, and that's not expected if your kid is missing. And seventh, there's a call to action. So if the parents have to be prompted to say, if you see my kid, call 911, or if they have to be prompted to describe their kid or ask for help, it means that, once again, their appearance was not about finding the kid. There was some ulterior motive, and we need to figure out what that was. Okay, so that's the list. That's what we're going to look out for. And it's not based on some big study or me just sitting in a room wondering what would I do if my kid was missing. It's simply things that I've noticed that actual parents of missing children do spontaneously because they don't know what happened. Whereas hoaxers tend not to do these things, at least they don't do them unprompted, because they actually know what happened. So it doesn't occur to them in the first place. All right, without further ado, let's listen to Katie.
The last time I saw my son was when he went to bed.
Tonight marks 1 year since Sebastian Rogers disappeared from his home near Beach High School in Sumner County. He's 16 now, but there are still no confirmed sightings or leads in the case.
Fox 17 News' Kelly Avellino sat down with Rogers' mother, Katie Proudfoot, in the search for her son and the ongoing public scrutiny surrounding this investigation.
3, 2.
A voice and an exuberant smile that have been missing for a year that Sebastian Rogers has gone without his favorite things.
Cats are the number one. He loves animals, almost all animals.
Animals, video games, books, and any chance in the pool.
He loves water. He swims like a fish.
Sebastian also missed his birthday.
December 7th. He turned 16, and he should be home for that.
But
As I said in the intro, it's not a great sign that Katie talks about Sebastian in the past tense, even if it's just a slip up every now and then. And that's because we always speak based on what we know. So if a mother knows that her son is dead, or believes that he's dead for some reason, it often slips out through her words. And Katie actually looked like she was aware that she was doing it and huffed and almost made a big deal about correcting herself. So does this mean that she killed Sebastian and she knows something happened to him? No, not necessarily. But we're just taking note of it. It's even a card in the deception deck. And that's because Susan Smith in 1996 famously talked about her sons in the past tense, when at the time, just like Sebastian, they were just missing. So even though we're only 1 minute into this heavily edited interview, we already have Katie violating the first rule on my missing presser checklist, talking about the kid in the past tense.
December 7th. He turned 16, and he should be home for that.
But Sebastian, who has autism, hasn't been home since February of last year. After dinner at the Texas Roadhouse on the 25th, Katie says she and her son went home.
Did anything happen the night he went missing that was like cause him to run away? Was he punished in any way? An argument? Just a normal night?
It was a normal night. It was a calm night.
That turned tumultuous by the next morning.
When I went in his room, and he wasn't there. He wasn't in his bed.
Katie says she frantically searched the house and drove around the neighborhood at 6:30 a.m. until she and Sebastian's stepfather, who says he was away for work at the time, called police.
There's lots of problems here, but they really all boil down to one thing, that Katie isn't being cooperative, which is another item on our checklist. In fact, she seems to be going in order of the checklist. And by uncooperative, I mean she's not actually answering the questions that she's being asked, which you'd expect her to do because these are questions that allow her to provide us with information to go help find her missing kid. For example, the journalist asked her about the night Sebastian went missing. And what did Katie say? Well, she didn't actually answer the question. Instead, she sat there silently until the journalist hopped in to break the silence and provided the answer for her. It was the journalist who said, well, was it a normal night? And then Katie repeated that answer. Moreover, the one other detail she provided, that it was calm, is vague, which is another thing that liars typically are. They're vague because if they have a co-conspirator, they need to line up their stories together. So they don't want to give too many concrete details because they might tell different stories and get exposed. Or they just never thought of the details in the first place. Finally, Katie did another thing that was uncooperative and a hallmark of liars who are trying to conceal information. She told us what she didn't see in Sebastian's bedroom instead of what she did see. For example, were the bed sheets tussled like someone had pulled him out of bed? Or was the bed neatly made like he'd never actually crawled into bed that night? Was the window open? Was his door open? Was the light switch flicked on like he'd brazenly left in the middle of the night? Or was it flicked off like he tried to sneak out? We don't know. All she told us is what she didn't see. Again, does this mean that she's guilty? No, not necessarily. But by this point, I've been analyzing them for a year. And I think that Katie does know what happened to Sebastian, even if she doesn't know exactly where he is right now. I won't rehash my full theory here, but I'll link that video at the end of this one if you want to check it out next. Okay, let's keep listening.
Days later, investigators combed through a landfill 2 hours away, still saying they had found nothing.
There is no evidence to support foul play is involved in the disappearance of Sebastian.
But at this point, you don't rule it out?
We're not ruling anything out.
For the next year, any activity involving Sebastian's case would fuel droves of online followers and even a restraining order against one YouTuber.
There were quite a bit of people that were, sending some very threatening and hateful messages to us.
What would you say to those people?
Just stop.
Fox 17 News sent the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, the lead agency in the investigation, a list of questions in anticipation of this story, including asking if there are any new leads, what kind of evidence detectives have vetted, and if investigators still believe there is no indication of foul play. Sheriff Eric Craddock responded in an email saying, "This is an active and ongoing investigation. We continue to work with our state and federal partners. We will continue to seek a resolution in this case."
What do you believe happened to Sebastian?
Unfortunately, over the last year, I have thought every single day, night, every moment of every possibility of something that could happen to him, where he could have gone, if he had gone with someone, if someone took him willingly, unwillingly, if he'd run away and got lost, if he'd a million different things. And unfortunately, I don't know.
When this interview first came out a month ago, lots of my subscribers told me that they thought Katie had been watching my videos and adapting what she said in interviews to match my list. And that might be the case. But the problem is, lying is hard. It's really hard. For example, she just said that she doesn't know what happened, and maybe Sebastian ran away, maybe he was taken. All the things I said innocent parents should say, right? All options should be on the table if you don't know what happened, and there's no evidence to suggest one scenario over another. But the problem is, just like any bad scriptwriter or actress, Katie is telling, not showing. In other words, if she really thought it was possible that Sebastian might have been kidnapped, why is she not addressing any potential kidnappers? She's on TV right now. Katie never addresses him through the camera either, saying something like, "Sebastian, if you're out there, dial 911. Mommy and Daddy are looking for you." So when I say lying is hard, that's what I mean. Acting is easy. Faking body language stuff is easy. Actually writing the script for something that you're not actually experiencing is very hard. That's why even blockbuster movies with multiple scriptwriters, continuity, proofreaders, etc. still have plot holes.
Unfortunately, I don't know.
But Katie and a private investigator she retained believe this piece of surveillance video taken the night that Sebastian went missing could be a lead in the case.
1217, a couple 100 yards away, there's a figure.
The Sumner County Sheriff said the video has no relevance to the case, but the Proudfoots aren't dismissing it until the identity of the person is confirmed by investigators. Unfortunately, any possible break in Sebastian's case has gone nowhere.
No child goes poof. He's somewhere.
Sebastian's father, Seth Rogers, has also endured a year without his son.
Sebastian, son.
Seth brought in a team offering their own reward of $347,000. That's on top of the FBI's $50,000 reward.
To stop looking is to give up hope.
Hope that's still evident among volunteer searchers.
I'm not going to stop.
Missing signs and ribbons in Sebastian's favorite color.
And God, right now we're seeking you to reveal the truth to us.
Katie says detectives searching for that truth left no question unasked.
Lie detectors.
Yes.
For yourself
and my husband.
Which Katie says they passed. We don't know what investigators say about the test, but Katie says they have searched her home.
Thoroughly, many times. Cadavers, searchers.
What do police tell you at this point? What do they think?
Unfortunately, that they have zero evidence.
Zero trace of the boy with a smile that's imprinted on countless hearts, especially, Katie says, on her own.
I would just like to tell my son that I love him and to know that we are never going to stop searching.
So a lost smile can be found. anyone who believes they may have seen Sebastian Rogers should immediately call 1-800-TBI-FIND or the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. There is a vigil for Sebastian this Saturday, March 1st at 2 p.m. at the Celebration of Life Church in Hendersonville. And we will certainly continue to update you on any information we learn in his case. I'm Kelly Avellino.
And voila, Kelly Avellino, the journalist, did what Katie hasn't done in multiple interviews. She actually asked the public to help look for Sebastian and gave us a call to action, a number to call, if we do spot him. And since my audience is so smart, I know you're probably thinking, hey, DD, didn't Katie just address Sebastian? Well, not really. Once again, it's showing, not telling. First of all, it wasn't spontaneous. It looks like the journalist asked her, what would you say to Sebastian if you could talk to him? And then that's how she answered. She didn't look into the camera and address Sebastian directly. She said, I would tell him. It's the difference, for example, between saying, I love you, and saying, hey, tell my kid that I love them. Only one is a direct address. Finally, I saved my most granular point for last. As you can see here, even the news station that posted this video quoted Katie saying, we're never going to stop searching. Which is a great thing to say if you finish that up with saying, we're never going to stop searching until we find our son. Because that would imply that you know he might be out there to be found. If you simply say that we're never going to stop searching, that's a different story. That sounds more like OJ, who said he's never going to stop searching for Nicole's actual killer. Or any other number of proven hoaxers we've analyzed on the channel, who say they're never going to stop searching for the real culprit or their missing kid, or in the case of Scott Peterson, his missing wife and kid. Want more Sebastian Rogers? Let me know by liking, commenting, and sharing this video. Until next time, stay true.